Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here, Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning.
Hey,
Happy
good morning.
Wednesday.
I was telling Michelle the other day, listen to that theme music rolling in. I was saying, we might want to change that music. It says wake up, buy here, pay here people. I think the only people might
It's
be waking
still
up.
morning.
Wake up, West Coast.
It's still morning.
Yeah.
It's still considered AM.
We shifted
right?
2 hours at the start of the year. And
Yeah.
so now it's a little later in the morning. I'm still in coffee mode over here, but yeah, it's not quite wake up time like it once was. So
yeah, our studio has changed.
yeah. Welcome to the spare bedroom.
We got kicked out of the office. Jim's first visiting his mom, so we had to reset everything. So I made my bed this morning.
My brother's always, he's
know.
always causing problems in my world. Seems like one way or another.
Well, it's a joy to visit with family. And
we've
your
had a
mom's
good
been
time.
super
And my niece
excited
has
about
been
it.
here too. That's beautiful. Yeah.
So every bed's been taken.
Yeah.
It's
been nice.
All right. So it's Wednesday, which is White Hat Wednesday. Do we have any announcements before we?
Just next week's webinar, Tuesday of next week, we have Troy Shear from NIADA. Dave Murray's joining us, and we have a dealer who's also been kind of revamping their brand and seeing some real success. And so we're going to talk about that whole thing around storytelling that you hear Michelle and I talk so much about. Forgive the wobbly camera. We're going to try to get motionless over here and get that stopped. But I don't know how many people are actually watching and how many are listening.
It's like it makes me dizzy.
Yeah.
It's like those strobing lights.
Yeah. So
We'll
get still.
Cold in Charlotte, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Say, go ahead
Karen.
and pipe in, say good morning.
There's Troy right there. Troy Shear from NIADA. What a joy it's been to work with Troy. He's a bright guy, and he's got a ton to add to the conversation on Tuesday. So we'll drill down to help dealers
enjoy
understand.
just chatting with him.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so he's a good guy.
He's got a lot of expertise in this area. So we'll look forward to having him join us. We got a special guest in the wings, and so you want to bring him in?
And good morning.
Good morning,
Mr. Gordon, aka Gordy Tormohlen. I've only known him as Gordy all these years. Seems like that's kind of the name that people say.
But Jim, there's a simple reason for that. We tell everybody Gordon, and when they call to the dealership and ask for Gordon, then I know they're a telemarketer.
Oh, that's smart. So smart.
So I will never ask for Gordon.
Ever.
Yeah, so we got to work on my own.
The one exception to that is if I'm in trouble with my wife, then I'm.
And then she uses your middle name as well, right?
Lewis, yep.
Ooh, it's heavy, it's big.
So for those who haven't had the occasion to meet Gordy, is somebody that I knew, 20 years ago when I was working with Rick Reeves and Company. We met you at least by phone back in those days, and so I know you're a long-established dealer in Illinois. You've got a franchise background, now buy here, pay here, and for those who don't know that Gordy is the president-elect of the NIADA. He's just assumed that president position in June, I think, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So we've enjoyed watching and getting to know Scott Allen, the current president, and you guys have, been in those chairs up there at a really interesting and pivotal time for the association. A lot of really amazing things have been coming together under you guys' leadership. So we're happy to have you here to kind of share the latest. I know you guys just came off board meetings last week. So what's the latest? What do folks need to know?
Well, we're hot out of a board meeting we had in Dallas here a week or so ago. Nothing radical. There's a lot of stuff though. Your association is on the move is really the best way to put it.
Yeah.
There are plans in a number of areas. And of course, we did budgets and all those kinds of things because they're necessary. But also just laying out plans. I even wrote some notes for you guys. But we're establishing goals and things that we need to hold ourselves accountable for. Membership goals. We want to see it back up north of 15,000. We believe that to be achievable this year. We want to increase participation in dealer education seminars, boot camps, things of that nature. Along with that, go 20 groups. We're looking to do more of our express groups, which will be a quicker, less expensive way for dealers to join in a 20 group and still get that quality experience with fellow dealers. Certified pre-owned is off and running now, and the pace of inquiries is picking up dramatically on that. So we think we'll see some exponential growth, and that's really, really important. It's for all dealers, but particularly our retail dealers, because they're looking at a tougher year than buy here, pay here is going to have. So it's important that they have some tools in the toolbox. Need to increase our participation in our PAC. That's never a bad thing, because sadly we need to have some funding there if we're going to get the attention of Washington. They look at that balance more than they look at the contribution they're going to get. And if there's a high balance, they're like, oh yeah, we should talk to these guys.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Isn't
A
it?
little bit like a car salesman when somebody comes in with a fat wallet, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm really, really excited about, guys, is Certified Master Dealer. This has been the premier education piece with NIADA since the late 90s. It was started in partnership with Northwood University, and we've continued that partnership. It kind of fell off the vine here about 2-3 years ago, and has been reiterated and modified. We've done focus groups and a whole number of things, and it's going to be a dynamic course. We're going to start accepting applications for that sometime this spring, probably April timeframe. So make sure that everybody keeps an eye out for that. But that's going to be a fantastic course for people who are really ready to take it to the next level.
I notice every once in a while when I see the names of different dealers as speakers, whatever, that there's that CMD initials at the end of their name. And I looked at that for a while, because I'm used to seeing, different initials for different education pieces. And I went, that's the Certified Master Dealer. That's fantastic.
You got it, Michelle. Yep.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So I think I don't have a good understanding of the curriculum, that goes into the Certified Master Dealer, but I think it probably goes a ways toward satisfying some of what we see out there, at least in the buy here, pay here space. Recognize that the CMD program is also going to extend to independent used retail dealers, right? But
absolutely,
one of the things we see in the buy here, pay here space is we just meet a lot of dealers who really struggle to implement or install a lot of systems in a way that would make their business more valuable and sustainable. Like that's been a big thing for us lately.
Absolutely. Well, and CMD is designed really to take a person who got into the car business. If you ever watch the Dealer of the Year awards, you listen to these stories, they're so heartfelt. But a lot of these guys started out detailing cars or as a salesman in a new car store or whatever. And they took their dream and they just took a chance and jumped in as an entrepreneur. And the idea of CMD is to take you from the level of being just a car guy selling and hustling cars to being a business person who is managing their business. So it takes you back a step and talks about, why are we doing this? What's our value proposition? What do we bring to the marketplace that nobody else does? And from there, how do we structure our business? How do we coach our employees? What are our true goals? What do we need to know about accounting that we gosh, debits and credits, but you got to know those. You got to be able to read that balance sheet, more importantly than your income statement, to know where you're at. And then, obviously we talked about marketing, known performance indicators, things that we really need to know, and things of that nature, so that you can build your dealership and build a dealership business plan. It will encompass retail business models as well as buy here, pay here business models, because frankly, we're all in the car business, and it doesn't hurt us to understand how the other guy operates. And there are very dynamic and different things about each business model, but to know both of those, and then service operations and all the way down to successorship and wealth creation.
Yeah.
Goal being, and NIADA is going to approach this a little bit differently. Way back in the day when it first began, this was a 3 or 4 day course. I mean, dealers would sweat bullets because there were tests every night and all the rest of it. It's college level education. It still will be, but the idea this time around, rather than just taking the course and being done with it, is you will enter a cohort, a group of dealers that you'll go through this thing together with. You'll go to an initial course, then you'll go to a series of e-courses online where you'll be able to interact with the instructor online, but not have to necessarily be out of your store. Then you'll come back and you'll recap with a previous CMD so that you can build a business plan to move your dealership forward from there.
Very nice.
So if you choose, you can just, deploy that and get it going, or you can move into a 20 group where people will hold you accountable to that business plan and make sure that you can move forward. So we feel that this really, there are about 200 certified master dealers currently out of a 15,000 base. We think that ought to be around 1,500. It's going to start slowly, but we want to get it to at least 10, 15% are our top-notch dealers. Also changing the recognition on it, press releases to your community and things of that nature, so that when you go through this, you don't just suffer in silence. You get some acclamation for having accomplished this.
Well, I love it. I think one of the words that you kind of breezed through that I think is important to think about is that word successorship, because we see a lot of that, and we see sometimes it's a planned successorship and sometimes it's unplanned.
Yeah.
And so I think what we hope the CMD program can help do, because we just see such a need in that sector, especially with buy here, pay here, is that we'd like to see dealers be able to create the kind of value and systems in their business that gives that business a better chance to survive them.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're kind of been, I've been kind of like a bulldog on that topic, Gordy. I'm just kind of staying after that to try to help, because I get frustrated seeing dealers in that situation facing a liquidation scenario. And it's a shame they built such a business. And
Jim, it's super important. And, most heirs or folks that might be in a position where if you're just gone, they don't know enough about the business to continue it. And so it's a fire sale, and the family doesn't even get the true value of the business. I've been on both ends of this at this point in time. My father started in 1940 as a preacher's kid, and he was a gopher in a Hudson dealership, and he built his career that way. And he and I were partners in a Chrysler store, but we really didn't have a plan together. And finally, I got to the point where I had to walk in his office and go, "Look, need to put something on the desk, or I'm gone in 30 days." Well, do what you want to do, and from that, we sat down and had a Culmer meeting where our goals were right on target with one another. And so we built a buyout program, and we sold the franchise off, but the buy here, pay here was certainly a viable business still that we remained in. And now I'm on the other end of it. Generation number 3 is across the office from me, posting yesterday's deposit as we speak. So, to mentor the next generation in so they understand what's going on, to build the business in a sustainable way. If they decide not to be in it, how are you going to market it and sell it so that that the people that are really purchasing it see the value? Because now you're talking about your family's wealth, and you want to transfer that on regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
So almost 3 years ago, I just looked it up as we were talking. Almost 3 years ago, I wrote an article for BHPH Dealer Magazine called "Could You Sell?" Meaning, would your business have value? Just to kind of give you an idea how long I've been talking about this. Like, could you sell the business, and would it have conveyable value? One of the things I talked about in that article was what I would call an owner's manual. Like if I were buying your business, Gordy, would you be able to hand me an owner's manual so that I could run it next week or next month and expect similar results? And so that's kind of the way we've talked about this with our clients, is to actually think about, how can we create a playbook or owner's manual for our business that gives us a chance to have the business do well, regardless of our being in the building.
I remember a book that I read a long time ago, and I've worked in different sectors, and it was on it. I listened to a podcast, which actually put me on this book where this business owner wanted to sell his business. He had someone come in and evaluate the business, and it was way less than what he thought it was worth. And so he found this book, and he did what the book told him to do over the course of a year and a half. And he implemented a playbook, systems, processes. I mean, all of the training, all of the stuff, and then had his business reevaluated, and it valuated for multiples of what he thought it was worth.
Yeah.
Just because it's, and that's like industry, whatever business in buy here, pay here, whatever. If you're looking to sell, that is probably going to be, besides your financials, that's such a big element
it's really key, particularly in a business like buy here, pay here, where not everybody understands what has to happen on a day-to-day basis in order to make it work. And to have a playbook, to have process maps in place. This is what we do on day 1 of a delinquent account. This is what we do on day 5. This is how we're going to approach this. All of those types of things. The same is similar for service. And what markup are you going to matrix your parts, or how are you going to do that? And everybody has to be on board. The team has to know what your business vision and your mission is, and take that to heart. And all of that becomes value then for the dealership. If not, you wind up with a mess on your hands.
Yeah.
The guy that bought my Chrysler store bought a very well organized dealership that had won total quality management awards and things of that nature. He didn't value any of that. He was a control guy and everything else. And the result was that, he passed away about 7 years later, sadly. And what his wife had to sell was, pennies on the dollar compared to what he bought the dealership for, because all of the employees that bought into that and everything else, they had left. That store has maybe 3 of my employees in it now from 20 years ago. But most of them left in the first 6 months. And so he had nothing other than an average franchise to work with.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think out of, 10 dealers that might hear our voice today, only 1 out of 10 might even be, in a position to think about selling or, buying or selling in the next couple of years. So the idea is, most people aren't really looking to sell, but they're certainly looking to make their business more valuable and easier to manage,
Well,
more
and
successful.
besides that, what we see so frequently is that you may not think that you need to be thinking about these things right now because I'm young, I'm da 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 da, but that when something, I mean, things happen. I mean, things happen all the time. It doesn't have to be necessarily super catastrophic, but things happen that if you don't have those things in place, then you lose a lot of traction.
You can cause a lot of problems. I think one of the greatest benefits of a 20 group is many 20 groups have a successorship committee because there are dealers that know how you operate, understand your operation, that can move in and help when your family doesn't know. But, one of the things I told my dad way back when we had that argumentative conversation was, as your son, I want you to live forever. As your successor, I don't care if you keel over tomorrow. And, the bitter truth is none of us has a guarantee on how many days we have left.
Right.
Right. Or just that, and that's that major major catastrophic event. But it could be, your mom passes away and you have to go take care of the estate and do the things, and you're gone for a week, and it's like everything because you're the piece.
Yeah.
You're the
Or heaven forbid you wind up president-elect of a national association and you have to take time off.
That might require some time. You're right. Yeah.
I've got a laptop that'll allow me to get on my DMS and see what's going back at the dealership, but I'm not running it. I'm not sticking my nose in it. The guys send me a text at the end of the night with what the deposit was, and that's the end of it. And they know how to operate a dealership. I don't need to panic over what's going on while I'm gone. I'm blessed to have capable people who know what the plan is.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm fortunate. Throughout my career, I've never been one to use scare tactics to get people to show up for a webinar or whatever that might be. You don't want to scare people. But when it comes to whatever it takes to get the attention of folks to help them create value in their business, and if they implement these things we're talking about, Gordy, then and the CMD could be part of it. You implement those things, and now you might be around another 20 years, and your business operates more efficiently and profitably during those 20 years. So, I'm not opposed to scaring people into that scenario, so
it's not a bad thing to be scared into.
Right.
Well, it's whatever motivates you is what it amounts to.
Yeah,
I mean, if good heavens, you're going to buy an insurance policy, why don't you organize your business so that it also is your insurance policy?
Of course. And we definitely like the idea of having key man insurance along the way. We just think the business, I think the thing for me is watching these businesses, and haven't been a dealer myself, is think, you work real hard, you create all these things in your business, and then to not be able to translate any value from those things, at a time that you were, at making it, facing an exit, then that's just unfortunate. We see other businesses that can sell off, at some multiple of their revenue or whatever. And so we just don't see enough of that in Buy Here, Pay Here. So I'm just naive enough to think that's possible. And I'm just going to stay after it until somebody proves me wrong.
I think you're on the right track, Jim. I honestly do.
Good. Well, good. I'm going to stay after it. So we just know that there's an opportunity there. We just see it too often. Like we see, lots and lots of scenarios where people have an opportunity to create something more sustainable, that can survive them. And that's what we're looking to do, because often it's not just the dealer that's affected, right? It's all these people in the family and, that also are impacted by that. And so we just know it's important.
No matter what you do, you're not in this alone. You're achieving your dreams, your family's surviving and doing and thriving based upon how much effort you put into it and so forth. But you got people that are working with you that have the same dreams, hopes, and aspirations for their families, and you're providing for them too. So this is, it's bigger. It's always bigger than you imagined it is.
Right.
That can be kind of heavy, but that's the reality. That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, we're excited for the June conference. That's next up. The BHPH Super Forum at the end of last year was outstanding, and a ton of progress. Just a quick mention for Bob Voltman and his tenure as CEO. He did a beautiful job from what we can tell. All the changes in executive team up there have been excellent. We've really
enjoy all of the people.
Well, the testimony of that is, Bob's not there. We don't have a CEO per se. Melanie's the interim CEO. And it just is cruising, and we're doing things. Yeah, the activity level is, if anything, it's increased. Yeah, and it's really, really good to see.
Yeah, it's a big transition, a big pivot that the association went through in the last few years, and I would say that everything we can see from the sidelines, it looks like a lot of great things happening. And just one more reason, I'll have to work on some more subliminal messages to slide in there to get folks to write that check and join their state association, which also supports the national. And there's so many good things happening, and so many things that opportunities around that. And we know, as Michelle talks about all the times, like we know the value that the National Association brings in terms of lobbying alone. Like we just know that, gosh, if dealers wrote the check and that was the only value they received, it would be worth it. But there's so many more things they get in their benefit package.
The sad reality is a lot of dealers will join because there's auction discount coupons, or they need help with licensing and things of that nature. But they don't even realize all of the incredible discounts, and credit card processing and parts purchases, all of these things. I mean, I'm in Illinois, I'm paying $300 a year for a membership, and I'm reaping over 25 grand in benefits, aside from education and government affairs and all the rest of it that goes with it.
Well, and I'll beat the horse again. That if there is anything that only NIADA can do for a dealer, and this is you're working hard for every dealer, regardless of whether or not that they're a member, is what happens on Capitol Hill, and that affects everybody deeply. And so, and I know too, just from having conversations, that when you pay for your state membership, only a small portion of that goes to the national.
That's correct.
And so there's, when you think most of it stays in the state, and so that they can continue their pieces. And so that's one of the reasons why it's the education pieces and all of those pieces are things that help drive the revenues for NIADA to be able to continue with education, with what's happening on Capitol Hill and all of those things. So, it's not just join your state organization. It's like support the things, the different pieces that are part of keeping that machine moving forward to help all dealers.
The money you invest is high value. I mean, a good portion of it goes back to your state, supports your state, keeps you safe from your own legislature. Okay. But then $60 of it goes to NIADA, and that goes to support. That's frankly not enough. It's a good thing we've got marvelous vendors and national corporate partners that help us as well. But then out of the $60, $10 out of that goes to the NIADA Foundation, which does tremendous work in terms of scholarships and dealership emergency funds when there's a crisis, natural acts and things like that occur and somebody's dealership is down. It helps the employees of dealerships. All of that is what you're investing in, and it's crucial.
Is there anything you can think of from your position that Michelle and I can do to prop up the state chapter in Hawaii? Is there anything that they need in particular? Comes to mind.
I've met those people, they're trying to get coconuts out of the trees, and then they got to pump it in the cars, and it's
they
need a lot of support, Jim. I just
do they? Okay,
it may require a couple of visits. I'm not real sure.
Have them call me.
We'd be happy. We're happy. We're happy. And anything we can help with, we extend this offer to everyone that we talk to. The phones are ringing. Anyone that we talk to, like with the Master Dealer Program, with any of the education things, with any of the conferences, we are just so happy to help because it's just such a worthy thing to help with.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the promotion that you guys put through. You're a voice for the industry. You've talked about unity and so forth, and I'm seeing some efforts occurring in those areas. And it's cool to get everybody under one tent. It really is really neat. Great benefits.
We all have the same end goal in mind, and that's to better the dealer and better the industry. And so it's, I love that there are options too. I've mentioned I love personal development stuff. And so, to do education here is fantastic. And sometimes you do education here and it gives a different, it connects with you differently. Yeah. And so it's like, I just love that there's so much out there, that a lot of people out there with the same goal of improving the dealer and improving the industry. And I love it.
Well, it sparks thought, and thought is never a bad thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's really good.
Absolutely.
She doesn't like all of my ideas, but I get the premise. Yeah.
That's a C. Okay.
I think a lot, and sometimes I'll get 25, 30 ideas in the course of a day. Well, that's got to be good.
Something's got to stick, right?
Throw them all on the wall.
Right.
Exactly.
That's good. Yeah, we're happy to add our voices. This
Mhm.
morning there was one guy in Nebraska listening, so we got that. So
Yeah.
he's
There you
got
go.
some now. So no, we have
Absolutely.
enjoyed the morning show's been fun for us, Gordy. We've 3 times a week, and we're finding that we are reaching folks that we haven't met through social
It's kind of
media.
exciting for us when we get a comment. It's like, do you know who this person is?
Yeah.
I don't know who. That's
Where'd
so
that come
exciting.
from?
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
So that's been part of the fun of it is we do feel like we're reaching some folks that might not otherwise be, plugged into this sort of thing. And so obviously with White Hat Wednesday, we're happy to showcase,
Dealers
folks out there doing a white hat way. We know you've been a long-standing believer in treating customers well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just want to point one thing out. Gordy's such a great white hat dealer. Gordy, how much money do you spend on average every year on marketing?
On marketing?
Well,
I do have to pay internet fees for my website, so probably around $750 a year.
A year.
a year
Yeah.
for all of your marketing. And it just because you know how to connect with people, families, and community.
We have relationships with our customers. That's what it's about.
Exactly.
And my mind is spinning as we're talking here, but I have relationships with other dealers too. We're all in a community together. Okay, so my customers, we're in this together. When on the unfortunate days when I have to go to Hellmark to buy something, that's what I call Walmart. I'll see my customers there and hey, how you doing? I don't want anybody ducking because I repoed their car, that kind of thing.
Or you don't want to have to duck either.
And it's a relationship kind of thing. It's really, really rewarding when you can run your business that way. What we've found, and I think you'll see this as we delve into more CMD oriented things, is that the dealers that are in the business for 5 or 7 years and back out again are very transactional in the way they do business. They're the cheapest guy on the, and we're going to push this payment and we're going to get that guy. But all they think about is a transaction. They don't think about the next one. The dealerships that are relationship oriented in their entire business approach have repeat customers and referrals, and their marketing costs can be down. But the side effect of that also is they keep their employees longer because their employees aren't stressed out by doing stuff to the customers.
And the employees love the relationships too. I mean, we've seen that in a lot of dealerships where they get to know the people just as well as the dealer does, especially like in collections. They're the ones that are the face-to-face once a month or the, on the phone or whatever.
It's actually part of our mission statement here that everybody makes a profit. And that means that the customer gets what they want to sufficient value where they're happy to part with their money in order to get the vehicle or the service that they're getting. The team member wins because they get a profit based upon their effort and their abilities. So if they educate themselves or they try harder, or they stay an extra 15 minutes late at night, that transfers into more wages, which is a profit on their abilities. And then of course I get a return on it because if I stuck my money in the stock market, I'd get a return on it. So it all fits. Everybody wins if you do it that way.
I love it.
Very good.
I love it.
Well, I just realized I should have, and I'll reach out to you. I would love to have you be a part of our webinar next week if your schedule permits. We can talk about that off the air. But you that's definitely the relationship part, kind of stepping away from transactional, stepping into connecting with the customers in a different way. That's part of what we think marketing and branding ought to be about. And so we see the opportunity that exists there. So that's what we'll be talking about next Tuesday night. So again, Gordy, I think we can wrap up there. Thanks for
I don't know
taking
if
time
you
to join
see
in.
this comment that just came.
I'm reading that,
And it's just, I live the white hat way because I want to be like Gordy when I have white hair, LOL. Seriously, Gordon is one of the most humble and best dealers to have. I've been blessed to learn from.
Outstanding.
So that's quite a tribute.
Anonymous Facebook user number 107.
Made my day, really did. Although this is not gray hair, it's highlighting gone wrong. That's what.
Oh, is that? That's
awesome.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go. I love it.
All right, Gordy.
Always
Hang
a
on for
pleasure.
just a second in backstage, and then we'll, as soon as we've closed everything off, would love to, if you've got a minute.
You bet.
Chat with you for just a second.
Have a great day out there in podcast land, everybody.
Thanks so much. All right. Well, happy White Hat Wednesday. That it always is such a treat to have Gordy on. And wait, okay. One of the things that I want to say, which is so different this time, is that there were no technical difficulties.
What? How about that?
I know. And Gordy knows, and we can have a cocktail over talking about all of the technical difficulties that we just, you know, I
It's just
I
been a
don't get
thing.
it.
It's been one device after another,
But
one
we keep
cord
plugging,
unplugged,
and it's like
so
we're
we
gonna
just,
we're gonna get this
yeah.
get this right eventually.
He's been super patient with us,
Yeah,
and we got it
absolutely.
this time. You're right. No technical snags
Yeah,
that I
it's been
can see.
fantastic.
So, yeah.
So, hey, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate all the comments and the shout outs from all across the nation. Join us on Friday, and we'll be back again at 11.
We might be back in the
Eastern.
office on Friday.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. We'll talk to y'all later. Have a great day.